Good day, my name is Tim Kift from Radical Fanatics, and today I want to tell you something about our 2grant.com platform. And that platform, or the 2grant tool, we actually created to make applying for, managing and administering subsidies easier. It actually sits, as it were, as a shell around Odoo, but integrates fully with project administration and cost center administration within Odoo. When you log in, you arrive at the dashboard, and that's the first thing I want to tell you about. The dashboard provides a nice overview of all the projects that are under management portfolio, what has been received in total, and what has been spent. These figures are real time, so if a booking is made in Odoo, it is also immediately processed here in this dashboard. And what is still in the pipeline, that is more about applications. Another part that I want to highlight is the grants spent versus time. So here you can see, in this case, there are three grants under management. You can see how far along you are. So the top project is 39% is the spent, but in terms of timeline, we are here. This project, the second project, has been approved but hasn't started yet, and the last project is in the final phase, so it's actually already closed, but we have incurred 96% of the costs. Below that, you can see what needs to happen over time. You look back 2 months and ahead 10 months, and here you can actually see displayed on a timeline relative to today. This is today, what is going out, what needs to come in, when a report needs to be done, and that per project. So those symbols are on a project line. The same thing, but more in table format, you can also see below in operations. So here you can actually see everything above this today line is in the P, falls in the past, has been done. Or in this case, there is also something that really needs action. And in this table, you can, for example, look at when I will receive something or when you will receive something. So you can, for example, filter only by money in, or you can view money in and money out. So that money out is about projects that should then receive a certain tranche. You can also just look at the reports, for example. And you can also group by grant, by subsidy. That looks like this. Of course, you can also just filter here by typing something. So if I were to search for development here, then it filters immediately based on that. And furthermore, you can also export it to Excel to analyze it further in Excel. Well, those are some parts of the dashboard that you first enter when you log in. Next, I would like to tell you something about templates, because you also want to standardize your grant applications. Under grant cycle templates, we find predefined templates for applying for certain types of grants. You can imagine that every grant provider has their own way of reporting or their own method that must be followed to submit such a grant, to submit an application. And if you open one, then you see, well, besides being able to record some standard data, that you can also various phases record. And those phases are then linked again. So they might have their own name for a specific grant provider, but you link them to fixed phases within 2grant. In addition, you can record budget categories, and within those categories, you can also record details. And those details have their own rate and their own unit. So that's how you can actually define what something should look like. And finally, you can also record with what frequency reports must be submitted. And that is quite flexible with certain label patterns. So that is the part from the main setup in a system. The next thing I want to show is the integration with Odoo. So here we can make the connection with Odoo so that we can also directly get projects that we administer in Odoo into projects within 2grant. So that's how the one-to-one connection works with your different databases or your different entities in Odoo. Well, if we take a look at applications, so requests, then we can see that you can actually see here what the status is of all pending and all awarded applications. So here you can see what has been awarded in the past 30 days, which projects are still awaiting a decision, and which projects are still in draft that still need to be submitted. You can also see here in the table, what is, for example, awaiting a decision. You can also filter on that, of course. This is a project or an application of 950,000. And if we open this, you can see that it goes through this phase. And the moment you click on Mark as awarded here, it transitions into a grant and the budgets are blocked. And we can see that, for example, here now with this one, it is a grant for 600,000. If we open that, then we see that the timeline is shown here again, just as you saw back on the dashboard, only now just for this project and also those operations that are listed below. The budget is created. In this case, it is a budget for 2 years that adds up to that 600,000 in total. And there is now one project attached that is being financed from this grant. Furthermore, the part with the donor inflows can also be managed here. So here you record when you expect which incoming payment. And because the budget is fixed, we can also open this so you can see the detailed lines. You can potentially perform a reallocation. So suppose this wasn't 150,000, but 100,000, and this 150,000. If you click Save Now, you also have to provide a reason why you are making this change from 26 to 27. Save. And that is now also neatly recorded below and is also included in the reports to the donor. Well, what we can do next is zoom in on the project, and you can actually see the project here that is linked below, which has actually been created, but hasn't been created in Odoo yet, because otherwise this create in Odoo wouldn't be here. So suppose we go to Odoo for a moment and we go to projects, then we see that there is currently one project in here, another project, a Nairobi office project. And from here, we can also open that project. And here we can also see the allocated budget. The project in this case is being funded by multiple grants because the amount is larger than this grant. And what we could do from here is save the allocation and potentially create it in Odoo up here. And if we do that, then that connection with Odoo will start working. Now, the next step is a funding agreement that needs to be signed. But if we go to Odoo here now and refresh the screen, then we actually see that the second project has now been created here. But right now, there are no tasks in it yet. But we can also work with project templates where tasks like here are already fully predefined. So you could actually do your project management from within Odoo. Okay, if we then take a closer look at grants and zoom in on a specific grant, then there are a few more things I would like to highlight. Well, in any case, if we scroll down a bit, then we see that we have the actuals or the budget here, and that we have budget versus actual below that. And the actuals, it just pulls those directly from Odoo. So if you click on refresh, then in this case, it pulls in the actuals from 2 projects. So everything that has been booked in Odoo is immediately displayed here. So here you already have an initial budget versus actuals. You can also very easily see the indirect costs here, for example. So that is, I think, already very nice. And if we really zoom in on the project, so let's say we go to this project above. So we'll just click through from the grant to the project. Then we can find the activities further down here. So those are also synchronized from Odoo. So that Nairobi project that I showed earlier, it had a number of activities. Well, they are in here. These are those activities. So that is another integration that exists. Then subsequently on this same project, I think. Yes, this project clip is being funded by two grants. You can see it here anyway. And well, in that way, you can also see where the inflow of the money at least has to come from. And then we have another type of project, and that is not tracked in Odoo. And those are projects that are actually carried out directly by a partner or with a partner, by a partner, where you don't keep the administration for it in Odoo yourself. So that is actually a special type of project. Well, the next thing I would like to show is about payments. Actually, there are a number of levels at which you can look at payments and the release of payments. Some things are optional and others, well, actually, you could see everything as optional. But for example, from a grant, you could choose to also manage a transfer to a project from the grant. You can set up various transfers here. You do that, of course, at the start of a grant so that you know whether, or actually when a project is linked to a grant. As soon as you have agreed on which tranches will be released, over time, you record that here per project and with a date and an amount, of course. And ultimately, you can then perform such a transfer with, if you have the rights, of course, so that you can keep track of which amounts have been paid to a project. But probably even more important are the payments from a project. So if you go to projects here now and you look then at the partner contracts, you can record what the different tranches are per partner. And those tranches can be released, but only at the moment that the funding from the donor that belongs to it has also been received. So here you can see, for example, that 200,000 has been released you up to this day, and that well, here you can see actually also where that lands in Odoo. You can choose, for example, to actually make this payment in Odoo by using an outstanding item that you create so that it can also be prepared in your bank. Well, if you click on this link, you will see that this is now happening via an outstanding item that is created by a vendor bill. And well, you can find that right here. And the moment you have posted it, it will be in your outstanding items. And you can therefore also make the payment directly from Odoo here. Well, you can also, at the moment you would release a payment, you can do a review here. Then you could, for example, also say, well, I don't actually quite agree with that 30,000. We need to do 20,000 now and 10,000 possibly later. 20,000 now for this and that reason. And then you save your review, and then that is actually now updated, and it is accepted for only that 20,000. So that 20,000 can now be created as a payment. Well, that is briefly how we could manage payments in DoGrant. Finally, I want to talk briefly about reporting. You saw, of course, that in the grant cycle templates, we could determine what the reporting cycles are, reporting cadence. The moment you have used such a template and you go to reporting, you will see the settings from that moment under reports. So in this case, you actually also immediately see on the screen already sort of dashboard with what the budget, revised budget in this case, and actuals are. And here you can see, in this case, there are 2 periods for which reporting should be done. And if you click on this, it will create an export to Excel. And in that export, you will find your budget versus actuals, but also your complete transaction history, including possibly with clickable paths to Odoo, so that you can also open them directly from your Excel spreadsheet in Odoo. Actually, all reporting requirements are included here. And well, you fully comply with the donor's requirements. I hope that you have been able to form a good judgment about DoGrant itself. In Odoo, there are, of course, also some other matters. When you are booking, for example, via accounting, and you have incoming vendor bills, then you can, of course, also book those directly to project costs. We are currently in one of the administrations, but by working with analytic distributions, we can spread things out a bit. In this case, 100% over a specific project or over other projects, percentage-wise, for example, 20 to 80. You can also create models for this that automatically do this distribution already, but in this case, it is now being distributed, and you will also see that directly reflected in your costs in DoGrant. Well, and we had already talked about the project tasks. These are therefore also automatically synchronized to DoGrant. Well, that is actually what I wanted to show today. Well, what is important to know is that DoGrant is also still a product that is in development. That means that we have now added a lot of things, all kinds of requirements and wishes from different organizations, but perhaps some things can still be fine-tuned regarding options that we can turn on or off, so that you might not want to show everything. Well, maybe some screens could also be laid out a bit better. But for now, it's just about you getting a good idea of what DoGrant is capable of. And well, this is the first version. The future will only bring more improvements. So that's it for now. If there are any questions, you can email team@fanatics.nl, and then we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.